I can't quite believe I'm sat here filming episode 10 of Cover to Cover. I'm so sad that this series is over, but I'm so happy for everything I've been able to do with it. So thankful to be able to have visited all these fantastic independent bookshops. I'm so glad I've been able to create this content to support these bookshops, to show you guys these bookshops. I am so thankful to everybody who has watched and interacted with these videos, because honestly, it's been such a fun series, and it's definitely the series I've had the most positive feedback about, and I know that it's one that people have really enjoyed. So thank you so much if you've been watching this series. And of course, a huge thank you to National Book Tokens, who have been the sponsor for this series. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. It's been such a good time going to all these independent bookshops. What a great thing to be able to do. So for our last visit to an independent bookshop for Cover to Cover, I am going to be heading to St Albans to go to Books on the Hill. This is a family-run independent bookshop, and it is one that has been highly requested for this series. Anytime I speak to anybody that lives around this area, they recommend me this bookshop. So hopefully it's a perfect one to end on. It's got some really beautiful old-fashioned vibes to it, and I'm so excited to go. I'm going to read you what they've written on their website about themselves, because it's going to do a lot better of a job than me trying to paraphrase it. We're a team of dedicated book collectors and reading enthusiasts who strive to match the right books with the right person. The dream was of creating a warm and inviting old-fashioned bookshop, a haven for busy lives, a meeting place for readers, writers, poets, talkers, speakers, thinkers and dreamers, to hold literary events for book lovers across the ages. Our bookshop is split into two rooms. The first, our traditional green room, holding our curated new books and our curiosity cabinet. Our second room, painted in book room red, holds our antiquarian vintage, penguin classics, children's vintage and children's new, young adult and our gift section. I mean, book room red? That just sounds so perfect. I'm so excited to go. It's gonna be great. Of course, Cover to Cover is sponsored by National Book Tokens, who I love so much. If you would like to find out more about National Book Tokens, they are linked down below. National Book Tokens can be spent in bookshops across the UK and Ireland, from WH Smith to Waterstones. They can also be spent in hundreds of indies, including Books on the Hill. I have got my bookly gift card with me today, which National Book Tokens have very kindly topped up for me. This is such a good idea because you can top it up monthly, so you can kind of set yourself a book buying budget, and it also works as a gift that lasts a little longer as well. Such a good idea, and it can be used in the same way that National Book Tokens gift cards can be used in bookshops across the UK, including Books on the Hill. I'm so excited to visit this bookshop today, so I'm going to stop waffling. We're going to head to St Albans and go to Books on the Hill. I spent 3 hours in this bookshop today. Safe to say, I think I might have found a new favourite bookshop. This was just absolutely stunning and I really wish it was closer. Obviously, I'll tell you about it properly when I give you the little summary update, probably tomorrow or Friday. But oh my gosh, I had the best time. The booksellers were so lovely. The bookshop, the atmosphere, the book selection, everything. I mean, we'll talk about it properly when I give you the summary, but I wasn't feeling in the Christmas spirit, but this bookshop had such a beautiful festive vibe about it that I feel like I'm getting there now, so I feel really excited about that. I had such a good time. I bought so many books. I'll give you a haul. I'll go through it all, but I just wanted to say that I had a great time and it was really lovely, and the booksellers just completely made the experience even better. If you are anywhere near St Albans or you want to make a visit out, I would very highly recommend going to Books on the Hill, because honestly, just such a good time. Such a good time. More and more recently, I want to open my own bookshop. Like, I just want to do it so badly. And visiting Books on the Hill yesterday has just made me want to do it even more. I don't know if it's anything I ever will do, because obviously it's not something you can just do. But oh my gosh, I want to do it so much. And this bookshop yesterday was so beautiful. It just made me want to create a lovely cozy atmosphere myself. This has turned into a bit of a Books on the Hill stan channel now. I'm okay with that. I'm a Books on the Hill fangirl. I've got the tote. I've got the t-shirt. I bought so many books. I'm going to show you in a minute. I don't know. I think this might be like the most I've bought for a cover to cover episode, but it was the last episode, so I felt like, you know, why not go all out, right? I'm going to show you what they are in a minute, but first I'm going to tell you about the bookshop. Obviously I had a great time. The bookshop was just so lovely. If you are new to this series, I basically look at 4 different categories in each bookshop that I visit, and I rate them out of a possible 20 total points, with 5 further bonus points available depending on what I rate the book that I read based on a bookseller recommendation that I bought at that bookshop. So the 5 different categories are atmosphere, shop layout, book selection, and bookseller recommendations. We're going to dive straight in on atmosphere, because the atmosphere of this bookshop was just so strong and so cozy and so welcoming, and it just felt so safe. It felt like somewhere I never wanted to leave, and I think that was why I was there for 3 hours. It was really beautifully painted. You could see that the colours, the choices that had been made there were so well thought out to be able to create this wholesome, cozy, darker vibe, but not like it felt too dark. It didn't feel small. It felt like it was the perfect level of colouring choices to make you feel like you were in a really warm and, I'm going to say cozy again, cozy environment. Both the inside and outside of this building were beautiful, but you could really see the older architecture on the inside being maintained within the bookshop design, and I absolutely love that, and I think that just builded towards this traditional atmosphere that it had going. It also felt so festive. I have not really been able to get into the Christmas spirit recently, and I really want to, because we're nearly in December and I love Christmas, but I just haven't really been there. And going into this bookshop and seeing the little Christmas decorations and the subtle nods to the festivities, it just made me feel a little bit closer to getting into the Christmas spirit, so I'm already happy enough that it did that for me. There are so many beautiful places to sit as well, and I think that just kind of brings a cozy environment with it and makes you feel like you are in a safe place where you can just sit down and explore the books that you've picked up, and that just adds towards a really welcoming atmosphere. There was also a reading room which was the floor above the bookshop, and that had such a fantastic atmosphere. It again was similarly like done with the kind of darker tones and the warm tones, and it just felt like somewhere you just wanted to stay. Like, I think that is the biggest selling point you can have for any bookshop, if it's somewhere that you don't want to leave. I literally had to force myself to leave because I had 5 minutes left before my parking ran out. So I just didn't want to leave. So it's a 5 out of 5 for atmosphere. It was fantastic. It was just brilliant. For the shop layout, there is kind of 3 different sections to this bookshop. There is the main floor that you walk in on, and that has the general adult fiction section. There's a big table in the middle with some bookseller recommendations and some staff picks, and then there is a wall of books going alphabetically which span from crime to general to fantasy and sci-fi, and then there's a couple of other specialist sections dotted around, like classics. There's some antiquarian books, and that was all kind of accessible via the main floor area. Then there was a second floor up, but I'm saying second floor, there was probably about 3 steps to get up to it. I don't know if you could access this area without having to go up the steps, because there is a back area, so I feel like maybe you could go via the back to be able to get into this top section if you weren't able to get up the steps. The top section was basically where all the kind of non-fiction was, also where the children's section was. There was the YA section up here as well. It felt so cozy and lovely as well up here. It was done in kind of aisles, but also there was open spaces for the children's section, which I think was just really well thought out because there was enough space for the kids to be able to explore those books, whereas the non-fiction section was designed in a slightly different way. There was also a couple of different seated areas around here, including a little seated area around a fireplace area, which was just, it just had all the vibes. I just think it worked really well. It felt like you were able to explore and go down little nooks really easily, and there was at one point I walked around a corner and I just had no clue that it connected to this next part of the bookshop, and I love it when you get that and you can be a bit lost in a bookshop. The third area of the bookshop was the top floor area, which was up a full flight of stairs. I don't know if you could get there via any way other than that set of stairs, but this area isn't so much a bookshop as it is more of the cafe slash reading room area, and it's the space they host their book clubs and their meetups. It was a really nice space. It had several different tables and seated areas, loads and loads of bookshelves of really old books. It felt beautiful. I'm now talking about the atmosphere again, but I think atmosphere and shop layout do very much come hand in hand. It was a really beautiful space, obviously the shop being the main area on the bottom floors, but this was really nice as well, and I think that it worked really well as a cool space to be able to host meetups and to be able to just sit and read for a little bit. Book selection, they had a great selection of books. They had so many fantastic Christmassy books for children, which I really loved, and again added towards the Christmas spirit. There was loads of non-fiction, lots of memoirs. There was a great selection of fiction on the table that was a mix of stuff that I had seen before and some stuff I'd never heard of, and I love that. That is why I love going to indies, because you get that much more personal recommendations from the books that the booksellers themselves have chosen to stock, and you could really see that on the table. There were little recommendation slips on some of them, which again I love because it just makes that stand out as a pick from that bookseller. And then there was a great selection of just general fiction to fantasy to crime. There was a whole array of that as well, and they were really happy to order things in for you to help you research and have a look at what you might want to read if they didn't have something in stock and be able to get it in for you. I think there was a great book selection, really enjoyed that. I've just realised I never rated shop layout, did I? Hang on. Shop layout gets a 5 out of 5. Book selection also gets a 5 out of 5. Generally all aspects of this bookshop, top tier. Bookseller recommendations. The booksellers in this shop were just the best. So lovely. I was chatting to 2 different booksellers. One was the owner, and honestly, the best experience. They absolutely made it 10 times better, and it was already like top tier. The booksellers here are fantastic. I asked for recommendations and I got so many given to me. I was sitting in one of the armchairs having a flick through them, and they kept bringing me more because they kept thinking of more different things for what I said I would enjoy, and I love that because it meant they were thinking about it, they were trying to find different things for me, and literally I had so many to choose from, which is why I bought so many books. So the bookseller recommendations, it gets a 5 out of 5, which means that Books on the Hill is currently at a 20 out of 20, which is literally no surprise because I think this is a new favourite bookshop. I loved it. It was just so perfect. I want to go back immediately. I wish it was closer. Honestly, if you are anywhere near St Albans, I would 10 out of 10 highly recommend visiting this bookshop. The vibes are immaculate, the booksellers are lovely. Just go and support this bookshop. They are absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's get into the book haul. I genuinely have no idea how many books I have bought. We'll get them all out and have a look. I bought 9 books. I don't really know how this has happened, but hey, it's the last episode. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, we're gonna go through these in the order I pulled them out of the bag. Not all of them were bookseller recommendations, but I'll let you know which ones were. This first one is Prophet by Helen MacDonald and Sin Blatch, or Blach maybe? I'll check the pronunciation of that. This one was not a bookseller recommendation, but it was faced out on the shelf, and the cover drew me in, and also the fact that Neil Gaiman has says fabulous, a page turner. So I thought I'd pick it up, and it kind of looks a little bit Black Mirror-y, which I really like as a trait. Also, I just found all my bookmarks in there. Hang on a sec, let me show you these bookmarks. These were by The Till. How cute are they? I am just going to be reading the blurbs to you for all of these books because summarising them is probably going to take me longer. This is Prophet. It knows when you were happiest. It gives life to your fondest memories and uses them to destroy you. But who has created it and what do they want? An all-American diner appears overnight in a remote British field. It's brightly lit, warm and inviting, but it has no power, no water, no connection to the real world. It's like a memory made flesh, a nostalgic flight of fancy. More and more objects materialise, toys, fairground program rides, pets, and other treasured mementos of the past, and the deaths quickly follow. Something is bringing these memories to life. Then stifling innocent people bring their own joy. This is a weapon like no other, but nobody knows who created it or why. Sunil Rao seems a surprising choice of investigator. Chaotic and unpredictable, this former agent is the antithesis of his partner, Lieutenant Colonel Adam Rubinstein, the model of a military man. But Sunil has the unique ability to distinguish truth from lies, in objects, words, and people, in the past and in real time, and Adam is the only one who truly knows him. After a troubled past together, now as they both battle this strange new reality, they are drawn closer than ever to defend what they both hold most dear. For profit can weaponize the past, but only love will protect the future. I think this sounds really intriguing. Neil Gaiman's review definitely made me pick this up, but the plot of it made me stay, and I'd never heard of it before, so this is book 1. Book 2 is Freshwater for Flowers by Valerie Perrin. This one is another bookseller recommendation, and this was recommended to me right as I was about to leave, but they basically said this is one of their shop favourites, so I felt, you know, I have to get it. That's the point of going to these indies, to be able to pick up the books that these booksellers love. Violet Toussaint is the caretaker at a cemetery in a small town in Bourgogne. I feel like I should know how to pronounce that, but I'm gonna check. Her daily life is lived in the rhythms of the hilarious and touching confidences of random visitors and her colleagues. Violet's routine is disrupted one day by the arrival of police chief Julian Sewell, wishing to deposit his mother's ashes on the gravesite of a complete stranger. The story of clandestine love of Julian's mother breaks through Violet's carefully constructed defences to reveal the tragic loss of her daughter and her steely determination to find out the truth. Apparently it's fantastic, and apparently it's funny as well, which I didn't see coming from the blurb, but it sounds like it's going to be really good. I think that cover is beautiful. I really enjoy the colours. This is book 2. Book 3, I got Upon a Frosted Star by M.A. Kusnir. I loved Midnight in Everwood a few years ago, which was a Nutcracker retelling. This is a Great Gatsby combined with... hang on, what's the other thing it's combined with? Swan Lake. So I feel like this one might be a good wintry read option for me, because Midnight in Everwood was perfect. I think 2 Christmases ago I read that. It was just the perfect in between Christmas and New Year's read for me, so I'm kind of hoping that this one might be the same. I've been meaning to pick this up for a while. The invitations always arrive the same way, without warning, appearing around the city on the first snowfall of the year, simply inscribed with "Tonight." When struggling artist Foster finds an invitation, he's bewitched by the magic of the evening, swept up in the glamour of this notorious annual party and intrigued as to who is behind them. Determined to find out more about the mysterious host, Foster discovers an abandoned manor silent with secrets and a cursed woman who is desperate to be free. I've heard good things about this, and it just sounds so perfect for the winter, so I got this one. I also picked up What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Ayama. This one is one I've been meaning to pick up for a while now. This is translated by Alison Watts. Hang on, was this one a translated one as well? It is. This is translated by Hildegard Searle. This is another one that I've been meaning to pick up for ages, and I saw it on the table, so I thought, why not get it now? What are you looking for? So asks Tokyo's most enigmatic librarian. For Sayuri Komachi is able to sense exactly what each visitor to her library is searching for and provide just the book recommendation to help them find it. A restless retail assistant looks to gain new skills. A mother tries to overcome demotion at work after maternity leave. A conscientious accountant yearns to open an antique store. A recently retired salaryman searches for newfound purpose. In Komachi's unique book recommendation, they will find just what they need to achieve their dreams. It sounds so cute. I love books about books so much, and yeah, I've been meaning to pick this one up for a while. The next book is Clara and the Sun by Kazuyo Ishiguro. I definitely heard of this book before and saw this about like a year or 2 ago maybe, when it was in hardback, and I never picked it up at the time, but based on a bookseller recommendation, I have picked it up now. From her place in the store, Clara, an artificial friend with outstanding observational qualities, watches carefully the behaviour of those who come in to browse, and of those who pass in the streets outside. She remains hopeful a customer will soon choose her, but when the possibility emerges that her circumstances may change forever, Clara is warned not to invest too much in the promise of humans. This book looks at our rapidly changing world through the eyes of an unforgettable narrator to explore a fundamental question: what does it mean to love? I feel like this one's going to be really emotional, so I got that. Another bookseller recommendation, this is Love and Other Thought Experiments by Sophie Ward. This one was described to me in such an interesting way, and I don't actually think I even read the blurb. I think I based it entirely on what the bookseller said, which was this is about a woman who is in bed and an ant crawls into her eye, and she tries to tell her partner that an ant's crawled into her eye, but her partner doesn't really believe her. And then we also get the perspective of the ant, I think. and it's about what happens when the people closest to you don't believe you with things. That's kind of the summary I got from it. I'm gonna read you the blurb though. Rachel and Eliza are planning their future together. One night in bed, Rachel wakes up terrified and tells Eliza that an ant has crawled into her eye and is stuck there. Rachel is certain. Eliza, a scientist, is skeptical. Suddenly, their entire relationship is called into question. What follows is a uniquely imaginative sequence of interlinking stories ranging across time, place, and perspective to form a sparkling philosophical tale of love, lost, and found across the universe. I think this sounds very unique and very interesting, and I hadn't heard of it before, so again, another perfect pick from this bookshop. I've got 3 left. This is such a big stack of books. Another bookseller recommendation. I've hit up Claire Keegan's So Late in the Day. This is absolutely teeny weeny, so small. This one is following an uneventful Friday at the Dublin office. Cathal faces into the long weekend and takes the bus home. There his mind agitates over a woman named Sabine, with whom he could have spent his life had he acted differently. All evening, with only the television and a bottle of champagne for company, thoughts of this woman and others intrude, and the true significance of this particular date is revealed. I haven't read anything from Claire Keegan before, so I'm really intrigued to see what their writing style is like, because I know that they're an incredibly popular author, and this one came highly recommended, so I got it. I also got Tin Man, which is another bookseller recommendation by Sarah Winman. Sarah Winman wrote When God Was a Rabbit, which was one of my favourite books when I read it as a teenager, and I've read it again since and still think it's fantastic. So I picked this up not only based on the bookseller recommendation, but also knowing that I really enjoyed a previous book from this author. The blurb is quite brief. This is almost a love story, but it's not as simple as that. It begins with 2 boys, Ellis and Michael, who are inseparable, and the boys become men, and then Annie walks into their lives and it changes nothing and everything. One thing about this book is it doesn't have speech marks, which is always an interesting stylistic choice. One I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. I find it a very jarring reading experience when you're not really sure if you're reading dialogue or not, and I suppose that is very much the point, but it isn't my favourite stylistic choice. However, I want to give this a go. Also, one of the reviews on the back from Nina Potel says this book is why I read, which is a pretty glowing review if ever there was one. So I bought the Tin Man, or just Tin Man by Sarah Winman. And finally, this was the most recommended book. This is Devils and Saints by John Baptiste Andre. This is translated by Sam Taylor. This one was the recommendation from 2 of these booksellers. They said this is a book they always recommend and they talk about it as often as they can. So I felt like I really had to buy this one. Joseph is just 16 when he is sent to a religious boarding school in the Pyrenees, Les Confins, a dumping ground for waifs, strays, and other abandoned souls. His days are filled with routine and drudgery, and he thinks longingly of the solace he found through music in his former life. Joe dreams constantly of escape, but it seems impossible. That is, until a chance encounter with the orphanage's benefactor leads him to Rose, and a plan begins to form. A delicate, subtle portrait of childhood emotions and ideals, Devils and Saints tells a daring tale of camaraderie, love, and good triumphing over evil. I'm leaning towards this being the one that I pick up because this was so highly recommended, but honestly, I don't know. I have so many to choose from. I'm gonna let you know what I pick because I need to run off now, but these are the books that I bought. I had such a good time at this bookshop. 20 out of 20 so far. So good. I hope you enjoyed seeing it, and I will let you know which book I pick, my final thoughts, my review for that book, and the total score at the end of this video. It has officially been 1 week since I visited Books on the Hill and I cannot stop thinking about it. It was such a beautiful bookshop. It was so cozy, so wholesome, just so brilliant. I wish I lived closer so I could go more regularly. The book that I ended up picking to read from their recommendations for this vlog was Devils and Saints by Jean-Baptiste Andre. This is a story about how our main character becomes the person they are when we see them in the first chapter. We meet them playing piano in a train station. Is it a train station? They're playing public pianos, basically trying to find one specific woman. And we get the story of how they end up at that point. We see some of their teenage years that kind of shape who they are and who this woman is that they're going to be looking for. It's a really beautiful story. The writing is stunning, very lyrical, but very digestible still, not too overwhelming. It flows so nicely. The reviews on this say that it really stays with you. One of them specifically hang on, which one was it? The characters of this wonderful story will stay with you long after you close the book. And I think that that's very relevant. Like, that really does summarize the way that it makes you feel. You are getting to know several young boys who are in an orphanage, and you're seeing their journey and their struggles and everything that they have to deal with and the abuse within that orphanage, and them trying to kind of get through that, and the unity and the friendship, and also our main character's love and passion for music. There's a lot of beauty in this book as well as a lot of sadness. It was a really interesting reading experience, and I just think overwhelmingly the writing style was just something that I really enjoyed. I would really like to read more by this author, so I'm going to be looking into that because every sentence was stunning. And I love it when you have a book like that, and yet it isn't something that's too overwhelming. Like, you still are following it. You know what's happening. It's not like you're trying to break apart what every sentence means. You can clearly see that. It's just they were written with such beauty to them. My review for this is a 4 out of 5 stars. So Books on the Hill has a total of 24 out of 25 points. So pretty much very nearly a top score. Honestly, I can't recommend this bookshop enough, and I feel like it's just been a fantastic way to end this series because it was just stunning. This is the last episode of me visiting a bookshop for cover to cover, but there is still like one finale episode that I'm going to be doing next month. I'm honestly not really sure the format of which it's going to take yet because it's going to be kind of looking back at all the bookshops that I have visited. I might do like little awards and stuff for bookshops. I don't really know. I'm going to sit down and have a think, but that will be coming next month. You do have like one final cover to cover episode that's coming. Within that video as well, there might be a little giveaway coming your way from National Book Tokens, so make sure you check that out because I'm very excited about it. Thank you so much for everyone who has supported this series. Honestly, it means the world to me. It's been so much fun filming this and going to each of these 10 different bookshops. I'll talk more about this in the finale episode, but honestly, I've had the best time. Thank you so much to National Book Tokens for sponsoring this series. If you would like to find out anything about them, as always, it is linked down below. Thank you so much as well to my patrons who are a constant support for me as well, and I very much appreciate you all. Oh, that's the last bookshop episode filmed. Okay, thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget there is one more finale episode coming, so if you don't want to miss that, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified when it goes live. But it will be in December at some point, like later in December, I think. I can't remember my own schedule. It's in December. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.